sometimes dead is better.
Hey, Charlie.
What's up, buddy?
I think there's going to be a battle royale tonight.
I don't know what hornet's nest you shook tonight.
I don't know, but you know what? Anytime when it's me and you, a certain Pete has to bring in his tag team champion, Troy.
Yes, I am here too.
It's another full house tonight, man.
Full house,
is.
4 of us.
Well,
Good
we needed
evening.
4 for Cube.
That way, for every part of the line of a square, that makes sense to me.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said square because you were about to say cube and really mess up the whole thing.
Nope. I know how geometry works and the algebra formula with it.
Well, I'm glad you do because I'm still wondering why cube.
Well, why Cube indeed, right?
Yeah.
I think
why
it's a
indeed?
horror movie to an extent. It's
Sure.
a psychological movie.
Oh,
God.
for sure.
But also, this movie in particular was one of the first movies I remember streaming on Netflix back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
What did you first get Netflix then? I'm just out of curiosity.
I had to look it up. 2008 because I got
Oh, okay.
Netflix when it launched on the Xbox 360,
Oh, of course.
and I've
Yeah,
had
all right.
my same Netflix subscription since then. And I haven't done the
Wonderful.
math yet, but I bet I've spent a lot of money on Netflix.
lot.
since then.
A lot of money.
But
I miss
one of the
watching
things
movies
that-
on 360. Remember we could sit in the little auditorium thing and we could all sit
Yeah, have
together.
your little avatar
Little
guy there,
avatars.
like a mystery science theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are programs that will allow you to do that.
Yeah, well, it was you could emote too, like you could raise your
Yeah.
hands up or
Yeah.
turn
Yep.
around. It was
great.
fun. Yeah,
But I remember like this movie being like, holy shit, like there are so many movies that I've never heard of that are at the click of a button now.
Uh-huh.
This is amazing. This is the future, that red interface Netflix used to have. It didn't used to always play the trailer beforehand. It was just, here is a long, endless line of movies. Pick something. And one of the things that caught my attention with Cube was this sounds a lot like Saw before Saw.
Okay.
All
All
And it was
right.
like, I gotta check this out. And the first thing that Cube reminded me of was like, how does this feels like a movie I would have rented from the bottom of a rental shelf?
Okay.
Like it just has that vibe. I mean, this is a very, very low budget movie. I mean, it doesn't have the best acting in the world. I think the set design is pretty cool, especially knowing how we know how they filmed it. It's just, it's an intriguing movie, but it's not intriguing enough for me to watch Cube Square or Cube Zero.
it's cube squared hypercube.
Hypercube
Zero.
Hypercube.
Yes.
And then there's a
Hypercrab.
remake of the original cube.
That just came out from Japan.
Yeah, from Japan.
And they've talked about a television show. Yeah. No, once again, we got our fingers on the pulse of pop culture.
Always
That's
do.
it.
Right.
That's right.
But that's
It's
what I
all on
wanted to bring
purpose.
to the table was like, do you guys remember that first time you got Netflix, like getting DVDs in the mail and be like, wait, I don't
Yeah.
have to like go somewhere and I can just keep this as long as I want? This doesn't
Oh, yeah.
seem right, Is this real? I remember like, this is being one of those things like, can you trust this? Are they
Mhm.
going to steal my information?
Yeah.
Are they
Well,
going to
I don't-
sell it to that prince over in Nigeria?
Right.
Well, the answer is yes, but it doesn't matter. Everyone has everyone's information now, so that doesn't matter anymore. I don't know the first movie we got like in the mail. I just remember that we were one of the first ones, whenever it came as an option to go do it. I will tell on myself a little bit that when Netflix went live as far as the streaming service, it was before anyone realized those movies would eventually go away and I had traded in like a ton of my DVDs because I'm
Oh,
like, oh, it's
no.
streaming. I can watch
Oh,
this
no.
anytime I want. And then it was like a year later, you realize, hey, where's that movie at? And you're oh, they rotate, they disappear. I was like, damn it. Traded off some good movies
Yeah,
that
that's
I had to go and rebuy. That's my Netflix story. I still remember that. I was like, man, I don't need these at all. Screw physical media. I am a digital man.
Oh,
I
how
was
wrong we
wrong.
were,
I
right?
was so wrong.
What about
about
you,
you?
Troy?
Yeah, that was my
Troy.
first.
Okay. Screw Pete.
That was my first impression. Is like they went from trying to mail the discs out, and then they had that really bad flub where they like tried
Oh,
to
Where
rename
they
it.
fumbled
and
so
there's-
hard, like called it Q something Quicks, I think is what it was.
Yeah, Quicks, and it was just a bomb. Like so much that the CEO had to come out and like get interviewed on 2020 about how wrong he was, but it's still going to be we're still working towards it. And I was like, this is never going to work. You can't stream those movies like that. That's going to be buffering all the time. And yeah, I was wrong as
Yeah.
well. And it took me a long time to go streaming. I was one of the last people in those Blockbusters picking out movies.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
I remember going to the Springfield Blockbuster as it was closing, buying movies. I remember going to the Blockbuster in London as it was closing, buying movies because they were like $4. I was like, of course. Why would I
Absolutely.
not do that? You know?
We were going to the one there in Hilliard, right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
At the Walmart, right there. It used to be the corner where CC's Pizza and all that
Yep.
is now.
Oh my God,
that's
so
a
you lived
whole
there.
area
Yeah, that-
of just
Just you do.
Yeah. So I lived in
God.
Galloway at the time. So that was our Blockbuster. We had Family Video over on Norton.
Yeah.
But if you wanted Blockbuster, we would drive up to Hilliard and rent. But I remember when that was going out, man. Just buying stuff by the stack, getting it out of there. And I don't know how many probably got traded in over at West Point Games across the parking lot. And they were reselling all of the Blockbuster movies over there.
Still
I
the
miss those
Blockbuster
two
tag
old
on it.
ladies.
Yeah.
Those ladies were awesome. They
They
loved
were the
me to
best
death over
ladies.
at
They
that
had
store.
great fun.
Yes.
They broke
Oh,
street
God.
street date on games, and that's
Mhm.
ultimately what came to their downfall.
That and they were buying way too many copies of particular DVDs from the stock boys at Walmart.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there was some
And
shady
games. There might have
Interesting.
been
Oh, yeah?
those little
Oh yeah.
grandmas might have had a ring going on.
I maybe got Star Wars miniatures at cost. I'm not saying a whole lot.
Hey,
What's the
I got-
statute of limitations here?
I got
I'm
Lego
not-
Batman like 2 weeks before it came out. Those little old ladies did not care.
They didn't. They
It
didn't
was
care.
great.
I love it.
Oh man.
That's
I love
awesome.
it.
So we
All right, Pete, your turn.
yeah. My sister had Netflix before I did, and I was just curious about it. And I got on the Netflix website and I just looked at the DVDs you could have sent to you, and King Kong Escapes was one of them. And I went, "Oh shit! I have never seen this movie, and I know all about it, but I've never had an opportunity to see it." So I begged my sister, "Can you please rent this for me? And I promise I will watch it in one night and put it right back in the mail, so you get a movie right away." So she did that, and then the very next Christmas, she got me a gift certificate to get on Netflix. So after some hemming and hawing, I signed up, and there wasn't a lot of streaming then. I think this was like 2004 or 5, maybe.
Mhm.
There was a little bit, but not a whole lot. Clearly not like it is today. But I've seen it grow. I remember Quicks or Plix or whatever it was, Troy. And to this day, I still get 2 discs a month. I never gave up that subscription. It is still much like the library. It is
Using
a
that word again.
It is a deep well of weird DVDs that they have. And if I can't get it at the library or on Tubi, Netflix is bound to have it. There aren't many between Tubi, Netflix, and the library. I don't want for much.
Right.
I love the thought that there's like some warehouse out there holding every movie DVD imaginable just because Pete's still a member.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and
There's
there's
like him and
the
7 other
CEO
guys.
of Netflix going, there's still a son of a bitch in Columbus, Ohio, renting these DVDs, and that warehouse is actually like the the warehouse where they put the ark.
The Ark
In,
of the
yeah,
Covenant.
that's
Yeah.
where it's
There.
at.
I thought, I for the longest time I never realized it was still going on until Pete told us that
No,
last time.
same.
He told us about
When
this.
he
Yeah.
told us, it was like, really? That they still honor
I was like,
that?
that's still
Like,
a thing, and which is awesome because that was the one thing I did like, even when streaming came up, was we were still renting because it just if they were streaming, they had the rights to stream it, but they didn't
Yes.
need the rights to rent out the DVD to
No.
anyone. So you could get new releases. It didn't matter. It could be on HBO. It could be on any other service, and Netflix would send you the DVD.
and
that
like
was
also
probably one of the good things.
there was that moment where the studio started to interfere, going, wait, Netflix, you're taking away from people buying our physical media. So then they made where they had to wait 28 days
Mm-hmm.
on new releases.
I remember
And I
that happening too.
changing and being like, well, shit, like now you gotta wait a whole month before this thing even comes out.
Right. I just got
She-
Megan in the mail today, so I don't know how long that's been out of the theaters. I'm
Good
looking forward to
chunk
seeing that.
at this
I just
point.
got it in the mail today.
But then like also like things would be in queue. So you'd be like, I'm 12th
Oh, yeah.
in line to rent this, you know?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Short
Yeah.
wait, long wait, very long wait.
Oh
It ain't
yeah,
happening.
definitely.
Yeah. All of a sudden you'd get that in the mail going, well, now I'm not in the mood to watch this flipping movie. It's like,
It's got to manage your queue. You're like, oh, I'll switch this around and that.
I do
around.
wonder how many of those DVDs just never found their way back to the Netflix warehouse.
I mean, they shipped them
You
in
know.
those flimsy little
Yeah.
envelope things too. It's like, I gotta
It's a
imagine.
miracle they didn't break.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of breakage
I get
involved.
I get a few broken ones every once in a while. I mean, a couple times a year, and you just report it to Netflix and send it back. And if they've got a replacement for it, which is a real thing, if that's their only copy, you're hosed.
That's right.
It's sad.
He's
And
the
I'm
only one that rented Big Butt 7.
Well, I would have to imagine too that they probably
first
have
six.
a limited. They probably have a limited selection of, say, like Dogma, which is worth a lot of money on DVD, or Airheads. It's like they probably don't even have any copies to mail out because someone's like, I'll get this subscription, put it on a burner card, and I keep that DVD. Those because you can't get them anywhere else. They're not streaming. They're not on Blu-ray. They're not on anything.
They're at the
So-
library.
Stop it. All right, just for that, now it's time for the trailer. That's it. All right, let's play the Cube trailer and then let's just jump right into this.
A cube. 26 rooms high. 26 rooms across.
17,576 rooms.
Does anybody remember how they got here?
Why would they throw innocent people in here? Are we being punished?
There's a way in here, so there's got to be a way out.
Do you think they'd go to all the trouble to build this thing if we could just walk out?
Take a good long look around. Because I got a feeling it's looking at us.
We have about 3 days without food and water before we're too weak to move.
I just want to wake up.
I looked into a room down there and something almost cut my head off.
Motion detectors integrated into the walls. Tough to spot.
You're not getting out of here.
Yes, we are! There is no way out of here!
We need to get around the traps.
They're identified by prime numbers.
Figure it out.
I can't!
I'm not dying in a rat maze!
No more talking. No more guessing. You gotta save yourselves from yourselves.
What the hell's going on?
We haven't been moving in circles, the rooms have.
We have the key.
The cube is us.
So once again, the bane of trailers when they give away the big twist
Yeah, no kidding.
in the movie,
Right? Yeah.
in the trailer.
That's why I hate trailers. I don't watch them.
I just written that down. I'm like, really give away a lot in that trailer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's not
I
a
mean,
long trailer
everything.
at all.
No, that it's a minute and a half long trailer, but yeah, because I was recording it and I was like, did they really just give away the big twist at the end of this movie and in the trailer? And I was like, oh my God, man, that sucks. But I had already seen this movie. And so now the fun part, Nate, Mr. I picked this movie. We know why you were drawn to this movie because of Netflix. But again, I ask, why did you pick Cube?
I just felt like it deserves to be talked about. And then, Pete seemed to be on board and Troy got on board. So then I got really hyped. And then I rewatched Cube and went, I still like it. It's okay. I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a puzzling movie, one could say. Because
I need that sound effect.
Like the very first kill in the movie, you get a guy that gets cubed, just turns into puddles of meat.
Great.
And it's like, you did this before that terrible Resident Evil movie did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And better. It's pretty good effect.
It's not bad.
It's a
it really
great
is.
effect, right? And like that is the opening to the movie to where it's like, holy shit, what's all going to happen next?
Right. That was such a promising opening, much like Ghost Ship with that cable that came and chopped everybody in half. One of the greatest openings to one of the most disappointing films of all time.
Exactly. I mean, I honestly, I would just watch that opening over and over again.
Oh man, it's marvelous. That's what Cube is. It's got that opening scene and it's big old
this is why you had to bring Troy in.
Yeah. So to our surprise, someone here didn't enjoy the movie.
Which just, honestly feels like perfect revenge after a certain month that Charlie and I had to endure, that I now have the power to torture Pete. And that doesn't happen often.
I found some joy in this, which the two of you did not find any joy in a couple of my selections.
Where did you find joy? I can look at the chat messages that I didn't sense any joy whatsoever.
I sensed a very bitter, angry old man Pete. If we ever got old man get off my lawn Pete, it was definitely his text to us of how much he loathed this movie.
I would read it, but it would be more like this. I can't believe that you did this one, and I have no idea. You stupid. That's how I would have to read the group chat thread. So
Pete, this was your first time watching Cube?
And last. If I could turn back time, I would never have watched this movie. Exactly.
Nope. You promised to be on this episode.
I did. I thought this looked intriguing to me, and it turned out it's just a pile of garbage. It's the two kills are very good. The two kills that the Cube actually does the killing, and all the rest of the deaths aren't Cube necessarily related. So the guy that gets cubed, and then the French escape artist who gets sprayed in the face with acid or something like that. That was bitchin'. That was such a good death. Yeah. It was horrifying. It was gross. And it was so gross that at the other cubists, what do you call them? The other prisoners had to flip him over face down because they couldn't stand to look at him anymore.
Yeah. I mean, acid shoots that man's face, and then what's great is it does what Deep Blue Sea does with Sam Jackson of I'm going to be the guy that saves you all, and then that shark comes out and grabs his ass, and you have this escape artist oh my god, this is a guy that's escaped so many different prisons, nothing can keep him out, and he's solving it, he's being this badass, and then boom, acid to the face, his entire face melts off, and a chunk, a crater, is now where his face was.
Speaking of Deep Blue Sea, do you know that they used some practical effects in Deep Blue Sea with a lot of CG included, and they used mako sharks, and they were supposed to be medically enhanced. And what else? Help me out here, Charlie.
I see what you're doing here, Pete. You're trying to take us away.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Pete. We didn't
watch what you're doing.
They're really smart sharks.
When it's
And then-
February, you're allowed to pick Deep Blue Sea. There's no arguments with doing that. All right. But right now, we're doing Nate's pick, and Nate picked Cube. All right. And
It
for
does have
that
Thomas
reason-
Jane in it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Thomas Jane
Hey,
is in
you
that
know
one.
what? You knocked that shit off too, guy.
What? I like Deep Blue Sea. I
like
do
Deep
too.
Blue Sea too, but this isn't a Deep Blue Sea episode. That's
You're
for
the
another
one that-
time.
You're the one that
Brought
brought,
it
it
up.
up.
I just brought up similarities because also in the group chat after Pete watched Cube, he went, "I'm watching Deep Blue Sea to get the taste out of my mouth." So now it's
true.
in the
That's-
forefront
that's
of my
fair.
head.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that one. I'll give you that. Yeah.
I
Trying
didn't
to
make
let
it through
the
Deep Blue
audience
Sea.
know what was going on in our personal lives
Yeah.
of Pete bitching about a movie that I made him watch, which, felt really good for once. And then to have him talk about a movie, I'm like, I do like that movie a lot, but I haven't seen it in a while. And we're not doing Deep Blue Sea
Yeah,
because
so I
it's too
sat down
late.
to watch Deep Blue Sea, and it got a little late.
All right,
so
that's enough. Now,
sorta-
Troy, what did you think of Cube?
I kind of liked it. But my thing, I have such good memories of this movie because it was one of those nights where you went out and I went out and bought or rented Cube and Pi, the Darren Aronofsky
Oh,
movie.
wow. What a night.
Had no idea what I was getting into. I just was looking for some deep cuts and went home and just got really creeped out and depressed and nihilistic and loved it, So I had some really good connotations to this movie. And I guess I am not that nihilistic and hopeless anymore. Or maybe I feel more hopeless and I don't need that because this is, I think I know why Pete doesn't like this. He doesn't like zombie movies because there is no sense of there's no happiness. There's no tomorrow we'll find a way out of this. Q has that feeling.
It does.
Because it is rough, man. Every time they open one of those doors, I get tense. I was like, this is just stress the movie.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, that's just my life. So I'm used to this. I'm used to being anxiety. The other day, they were like, Nate, why are you typing like your shoulders are up so high? And I'm typing like a gremlin going, because I'm always just a ball of stress at all times. So me watching this, I'm like, it's my mind. Someone else gets my mind.
Just like a warm, cozy blanket for Nate. This movie thinks it's smarter than it is. This movie thinks it is so flippin' smart, and it's like watching I almost let it slip. It's almost like watching a Wes Anderson movie. Screw that guy.
I like Wes Anderson.
No, Wes Anderson
Moonrise
thinks
Kingdom's
he's
adorable.
so flippin' smart, and
I'm
he
with
has
Pete on
these
this one.
shitty movies. I cannot stand the
Life
smell.
Aquatic was great.
No, it wasn't. It was awful. And a lot of those movies have this dynamic between the characters in it, and it's always very tense. It's always very abrasive, and no one is a nice person, and everybody sucks ass in these movies. And there's no one to latch onto that, oh, you're the hero, or you're the savior, or yes, I would follow you to heaven and back, right? Or to hell and back, whatever. Everyone in this movie sucked. They all were terrible people. And they showed their colors very quickly.
Not all of them were terrible.
Okay, the young gal was not necessarily terrible.
No,
women.
and
Kazan.
Kazan. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Everyone who's talked a lot was a terrible, awful, flipping person.
what I think is interesting in a movie like this, I'm fascinated by the Stanford prison experiment, where you take normal people, throw them in a situation. What do they turn into? And
Yep.
sadly, human nature's pretty gross.
It's
And
pretty awful.
I think what's interesting in this world is some people are in such denial that humans are capable of committing such atrocities that they'll create a conspiracy theory to kind of give them some sort of warmth instead of facing the cold reality that's people can be garbage, and it's just as simple as that. And sometimes you find that out sooner in life and sometimes you don't.
That's why I watch movies, though. I don't want to watch a movie about people that I know and maybe work with. And just pass on the street, just assholes all around. I don't want to see these people. I want to see heroes or villains or, clearly defined definitions of both things.
Did you just call everybody you work with an asshole?
Yeah, I feel like he just called
Most of
everyone
the people I work with would
asshole.
agree with me. And they would call me the same. I mean, it's a wonderful, it's legitimately a wonderful work environment. And if any of them are listening to this, yeah, you're an asshole. So I'll see you at the bar later on, guys. But I like my movies for escapism. I don't want reality. I don't like war movies either, because when you're shooting people as you're like real people, like Saving Private Ryan, I can't watch that stuff because it's real. Shit like that happens for realsies, and I just can't handle it. It's hard for me to stomach the reality of human nature, and this was way too close. The biggest reason I never watched Walking Dead wasn't the zombies. It was because Dave, our co-host over at Good Beer Bad Movie Night, his wife Donna likes The Walking Dead, and Donna, I love you, honey, is a drama queen. She loves the heavy dramas. She's in the Downtown Abbeys, and she's in the if it is thick with personal intrigue and backstabbing, and I think she likes all those stupid reality movie or TV shows. She's into all that shit. I'm like, I cannot stand to watch people argue like that, not to each other, but at each other. They're not solving anything. As this movie goes on, I do understand that the cast was, they didn't have food. They didn't have water, lack of sleep. They were confused. They were scared. And that's when tempers started to really flare. And I understood it back then, but man, early on, they're just terrible people to each other. And it turned my stomach in a way that I don't care for.
No, this is all great. This is fantastic reasoning. Instead of you just be like, oh, I hated it. Now, we haven't heard from Charlie. He's been very quiet over there.
He's been nodding and trying to get a word in edgewise.
Well, I think what he was wanting was this ultimate showdown that was finally going to happen between Nate and Pete, where we come to blows.
It's my own little sociological experiment going on.
Oh no! Well, you know what?
See?
I got news for all you guys. The only reason why I do podcasts with you guys is to keep your boots.
Yeah, just want my boots. Sure.
In case we ever get into a cube situation,
yeah,
we're like, sons of bitches, throw me your boots.
Yeah, so I'm starting to put together that it's possible I've seen this movie more than all of you guys. I've probably watched this movie
once.
like 5 or 6. I've watched it like 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I watched this when it came out. It was direct to video. I watched it again because Jackie was asking. She goes, "Have I seen this?" I was like, "Oh yeah, this was one of our early on watches when we were like deep diving back into horror, and we liked obscure horror kind of things." And I had remembered the brutalness of the kills at the beginning of this movie, and I said the kills at the beginning of this.
I know there's only 2.
But that's the thing, though. Like, those 2 kills are so effective that, like, when rewatching, I was like, "Oh yeah, those were like really the only 2." Like in my head, it was like each room
There's
was
kills.
someone getting, pierced, caught on fire. And it's like, no, there's just a lot of teasing of traps.
Well, there's teasing, and then there is kills as the movie gets close to the end. And I've been a fan of this movie for a long time. I have watched the sequels. They're not great. Definitely not worth.
Ooh, I saw some
worth your
highlights of
time.
2, and that CG is bad.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say
Like-
I watched some
like
highlights
the
of
Asylum
today, and I
makes
was
it
like,
look
"What the
good.
hell?"
It makes the
Yeah.
Asylum stuff looks good. Holy moly.
And this one was on barely over $300,000 budget. It pulled in like 8 to 9 million just on straight to
And what's
VHS.
cool is this movie was funded by like a Canadian grant program
Yeah.
to give like young filmmakers a chance.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
this
like-
was his directorial debut.
yeah.
Yes.
direct-
And
okay, yeah.
then the team that did the special effects, they did it for free just so they could get their work out there essentially.
Oh,
You got to
okay.
get a name for yourself. So
Mhm.
yeah,
And like
it-
that
and
led to
it's-
those guys doing like Blade and the first X-Men movie.
And it's also one of we've talked about before, one of my favorite type of movies, which is the single setting. They do go in multiple cubes, but essentially this movie is a single setting movie. There's no outside world happening. There's no flashbacks happening, nothing like that. And I always love that. I love how creative they have to get with these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how much research Pete did, if any, after watching this.
0.
Okay.
He was done. He was like, I don't want to even talk about this tonight.
Oh, so he watched Cube Zero. That's what I heard.
I did. It's not quite Coke Zero, but it's Cube Zero. Yes.
None of the calories.
None.
So this
None of the fun.
movie,
The taste.
this movie has actually inspired like college courses and theses.
Seriously.
There are people to this day that are still deconstructing the psychological part of this. So before we started recording, I was trying to out Pete, and I think Pete forgot what he did.
Uh-oh.
Pete was trying to rally the troops one evening on his side, and he jumps into a Discord that is run by a friend of ours, which is Chris over at Time Shifters Podcast. And I forget the exact phrase, but all I thought was, is this movie a garbage or a steaming pile of garbage? And Chris gets on there and goes, I don't know. Are you talking about Gleaming the Cube, that 80s movie? Because Cube is a brilliant masterpiece. Here's my interview with the director talking to him about Cube. And I shared a little gif of Colbert eating popcorn, wearing 3D glasses, going, this is getting good. And all Pete can go is, you're in this chat too? I'm like, I am everywhere. I am omnipotent, and you cannot escape me.
Totally forgot about that.
So yeah, Pete
was ready to go behind our backs.
He was everywhere. He was rallying the troops that were non-existent, and I just found that so poignant, though, because this movie has high regards.
That feels like something you'd do if you were trapped in a cube, Pete.
Exactly. He's the first one that turned. This movie, I like how Pete's like, it's smarter than it is, or it deserves to be. And I think ultimately
the other way around, it thinks it's smarter than it is.
I think it actually is smarter. I think it is smarter than all of the audience, for the fact that they still keep trying to uncover all the layers to this thing. And I'll also say, while these aren't like mainstream actors, there's a handful that I recognized. I think it adds to the realism of this movie because they aren't like trained actors. They feel human. They feel real. Mm-hmm. They're responding in ways I do. But I will say the main guy, and I don't remember all their names, but the cop,
Quentin.
He has a
Quentin.
Yeah, Quentin.
They were all named after.
They're all named after prisons. San Quentin and all that stuff. And you put the two names together, made one name. Anyway, that guy
Leavenworth. Yeah, that was, as soon as I heard that name, I went, oh, I get what they're doing.
Yeah. But there's a moment that guy, I believed everything going on, and that's when we're just going to talk about the movie. We don't need to go like scene by scene, because they're in a cube.
That's not what we do.
They're in a cube. There's a point in this movie where they get to the outside of the cube, and it's just an outer shell that they find out one of the guys created. He's one of the makers, but he was just a small wheel in the process.
Yeah.
And they decide to explore it, and they tie all their clothes together, and they drop the conspiracy theorist doctor down the shaft to see what she could see. And they lose their grip, and he dives for that rope, like hurls himself through the opening, grabs a hold, and pulls her up. And then he switches a switch in his brain. And I adore this guy's acting in this, because he is truly instinctual, save her. And then when he sees her in the eye, you see this little switch in his brain flip, and he lets her go.
She sees it too.
She sees that moment.
You're right, Troy.
that moment was also just one of those pit of your stomach scenes in here. I have my theories on this. I'll save it towards the end. I have kind of my thoughts on it. Not that I know what they're going for. I just have what I got from this movie, watching it. Yes, I've seen it quite a few times. I enjoy this movie a lot. There's still parts of this, like watching it the other night, I still had impending doom, like pit of my stomach, heaviness on my shoulders, which is funny. We were just talking about what scares me, and nothing really scares me in movies. So I wasn't scared, but there was a weight on me in scenes in this movie. And I was even more impressed because I've seen this movie more recently than you guys, and it still had that effect on me. So that's my piece. I'll turn it back over to somebody else here for a little bit. Nate, you started this brouhaha. So
I also think that the movie is pretty smart, and the fact that like everything is intentionally set out. I also realized that I'd be too dumb to solve this. Now I will say, I am undefeated in escape rooms.
Oh,
so I might be able to get out of the cube just based on my previous, history with them.
Right.
So, but the prime numbers, I would have never figured that out.
Yeah, you're not figuring out Cartesian markers.
No, not at all. Not happening.
No. It was. I thought Leavenworth was a high schooler, and then
college.
Then she's whipping out Cartesian whatevers and prime numbers. And I'm like, oh, that's not a high schooler, is it? She's just a very small young lady.
Well, she was college. She still lived at home. She talked about.
When she said I lived at home with my parents, I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're still in high school or something.
I mean, and then I still think like 20. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Not.
Oh yeah.
She's definitely a very young adult, but I pegged her for much younger earlier on. And then when she's doing all these calculations in her head, I'm like, oh, that's more training than a high schooler would ever get.
Right.
You have to be a pretty high functioning mathematician in high school to be getting all this stuff. So not that it can't be done.
No, but the layman is not figuring out anything as far as that goes.
I like, so it was hinted at earlier in the film that each one of these people was there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really think that happened. The math girl was there, and the autistic fellow was there, and everyone else was there to prevent them from getting out, because everyone else there was a terrible person. And
I think it was to see how does each person, from whether there's social hierarchy or their personal background, how would they handle themselves in this scenario?
And you're also like, I kind of felt like it might have been touching on the 7 deadly sins, but since the 7th person, anytime you say there's 7 people in there, I always think, oh, they're making some sort of reference to the 7 deadly sins. No. So the first guy dies immediately without saying a word. By the way, that guy was Death in Supernatural. Troy, do you remember that?
Yes.
I've seen very him in young quite a few things. Yes.
Wow.
Thank you, because I hadn't placed him. You're right.
Yeah, it's like, man, that guy looks familiar, and he doesn't say a word, but that bony structure of that poor skinny guy. Oh man.
So that guy, he's not there during the time they are.
No.
That is a past time, and the reason that works is because as the movie goes, we find out they're not the first group of people to be in the cube. So here's what you have to remember. They are in a cube. There are 6 sides to a cube. There can only be 6 people in the experiment. Every person is a side of the cube in this movie.
Okay.
So, I didn't know that. My mind just got blown.
I was saving this. I was saving this to the end, but no. Okay. So that means every person is a piece of the puzzle.
Piece of crap. Oh, a piece of the puzzle. Sure.
Yeah, at first, they're not pieces of crap. So I'm going to have to look at their names so I can keep things straight. So
yeah, that's the thing.
I love. Pete, I'm going to give you your spotlight here in a little bit, but for right now,
I think I said my piece.
No, you have another thing later we're doing, so it's
Oh
totally
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Okay.
I do.
So Quentin, who ultimately ends up being the villain at the end of this, only because of circumstance. He's not the true villain. He is in the leadership role. He is the person that is put there to rally everyone together and to find their strengths and to guide them into what their strengths are. The doctor is there because someone needs to be there because possibly they're going to mess up and end up in one of the rooms that's going to hurt them. Someone may fall. Someone may do this. She is the healer, basically, to, take care of the group. I'm looking up names, so pause.
Sure.
Levin is one of the keys, one of the things that can solve what is going on because she can do the math. She does the prime numbers. She figures all this other stuff out. Worth, even though it comes out that he is part of this thing, but that's the reason he's there. He is a crucial clue to figure out the math equation because he knows how big the structure needs to be for Levin to start putting. You need all of the parts of the equation. And then Kazan is actually, I'm trying to think of the right word. You know how like things are like very cryptic, but then you have like the code breaker, like the one thing that is like the key to solving a
like
puzzle.
The codex.
Yeah, like the codex.
Codex, that sounds
so.
right, yeah.
So Kazan is actually the one that where she can glean these numbers from. So ultimately, they could have easily gotten out of this cube immediately, like as long as it timed out correctly, but they were safe in there. So if they had all figured out what their purposes were, and also the escape artist, he is a master of prisons. He understands the thought process of, okay, there are traps. Here's how we're going to avoid traps. So he would have been the one to test each of the 6 doors so they could figure out there's numbers for each one. So ultimately they would have been able to go, okay, let's stop for a minute. Let's figure out what our purposes are, get everyone's backstories. But instead they get into people's like history. I'm a dad. I'm a father. I'm a student. I'm a medical doctor, but I'm also an activist. I'm an escape artist and I'm just getting out of here. I don't care about anyone, which is ultimately what kills them all, is because they don't figure out that they could have just walked out of the cube once they figured out the timing and everyone would have been free. So 6 people, 6 sides of the cube of the puzzle, they all were integral to being there to solve it. Without one or the other, it would have failed. Because if the doctor wasn't there, they would have just totally disregarded Kazan, and he was the whole key to get out of the cube.
Good point.
From the beginning.
Yep.
Once again, I didn't read any of the papers that's been written. This was just my thing. And then where my thought goes is ultimately there's a whole nother layer to it, is each person is responsible for their own prison. So the Quentin, while he's a cop, he's, serve and protect. We find out he's a divorcee. He's also a bit handsy with the women.
Probably a
he
rapist.
has so he also has anger issues, and he can't break from that character. The doctor, who is supposed to heal people, cannot get over conspiracy theories and tearing people apart, and just, she really needles at Quentin the entire time. Levin thinks she's a nobody. Like, I'm nothing. She goes, there's no one out there for me. I am nothing. I'm just a small person. She's trapped within herself. The guy who designed the cube structure is like, I just do my job and I go home. He goes, I have no purpose other than this. And then Kazan is perpetually a prison of his own brain. He can't escape what he is, being autistic, and he is always a prisoner. So each person is actually, and then the escape artist, I keep forgetting about him because he dies so fast,
Right.
but he's always been in prison and he always tries to escape. So ultimately there's a whole nother psychological layer to this of every person is responsible for their own prison, even towards the end. And only Kazan, who is the only true innocent, because he just can't do it on his own, is the only one that gets away. That's my TED Talk.
Thank you for the Charlie talk.
I want to
And
hear
I
Troy's
think a lot
TED
of it
talk.
too. It plays into the fear that everyone has, and
Yes.
for me, like when you're a kid, you're taught from such a young age, like don't talk to strangers, getting kidnapped is like a horrible fear as a kid. Then as you grow up, you kind of forget about that fear, like as an adult, and especially us being like adult males, like, we're not going to get kidnapped. It's kind of just like an instinct thing. But the thought process of being an adult and getting kidnapped is terrifying. And then
Waking
wake up
in a new place.
secluded area and just be like, what's going on? Like that. To
I've
me
been
is-
that drunk. Where am I?
Oh, wait, it's just
yeah,
parking lot Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Pete.
So
I am not
that's
the
what
only
works
one
really
in this
well.
room that has thought that to themselves at one point.
You're not wrong.
Uh-huh.
You're not wrong.
In
But
Vegas,
no,
I got
yeah.
lost in an arcade and thought we were going to be stuck in the arcade for years to come. So I get it.
Could
Like
be
a,
worse
like
places.
a game arcade or like a slot arcade?
No, like a game arcade. Like there were so
Oh.
many flashing lights, and I was hammered, and I could not figure out what way was what.
Which way was up? yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
and you just had
Curling
me
up
going.
and whimpering in a corner didn't help any either.
Yeah, it didn't help at all. Me
He was
crying,
high.
shaking, and I couldn't
was high.
get away from the claw machines.
He's hiding behind the Galaga the whole time.
I just want to go to my hotel.
No, I think the human element is like what Pete was talking about is ultimately what comes out, like that they're starving, they're thirsty, they're desperate. They've just witnessed some of the most horrific things a human can, witness. A dude's face melted. As horror fans, we're going, yeah! Put yourself in that situation and you're going, no! That's not normal.
Yeah, for sure.
But then it really gets into the human, equation to it, which is a whole nother level to it, is how badly we suck at even the simplest of
Oh my
chores.
god, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they even point out in the movie pretty quickly on is, why are we here? And they're like, no reason. It's because the cube was built and they went, let's put people in there.
See what happens.
Right.
And that was
It's
the point.
Yeah, go
when
ahead, Troy.
Pete was talking about how the movie is not as smart as it thinks it is, that's what I thought of the first thing, where like they're trying to decide why the cube's there, and Worth goes in about how like nobody's in charge. The process just got started, and this is the final creation of all that. It was so nihilistic, like, and all I could think of is like, God damn, we have people that like spend their whole lives trying to focus on something that couldn't build that thing. Just like haphazardly, like, I made a death trap, 26 rooms high and 26 rooms across. But
Whoops.
But ultimately, that's the whole thing with him, was he was a nihilist. That was his downfall. That may not be what it was. They just put it out there that he goes, that
True.
is a possibility that no one's out there. No one's watching us.
You're dealing with like alien technology in a way, because nothing in these rooms makes sense to the human mind.
Yeah.
You deal with a sound room where like if you fart, it will kill you.
Oh God,
I'm
that
sorry, but
scene stressed me out so
Yes.
much. I'm like,
Yes.
would you get through that stupid door? Stop taking your time.
that scene is one of the most stressful scenes I remember. Also watching it, I'm going, as much as everyone like raved about A Quiet Place, the movie, that's this right here. This movie nailed it too in a scene. That's so stressful when they try to get Kazan through that room.
Yeah.
You're just like this. You're just like anxiety in your chest of going, oh God. And I've seen the movie and I'm still like, God, just and when he lets out that little, while Quentin's in there and he barely gets out from all the spikes, it's so stressful. And then you're not even mad that Quentin is like ready to murder Kazan. Like you get it. You're like, dude, you almost ended me. Even though you're like, it's not Kazan's fault.
Yeah, like he's not at fault for what he did, you know.
When he got caught on that lock on the floor, that is still just some gut-wrenching.
So good.
And again, for, movie thinks it's smarter than it is, I like how they explain it. It's been programmed not to respond to the doors. Because otherwise,
that nicely, yes.
Yeah, because
I'm okay. Because
you're also like, otherwise, what's the point? They would see that the trap's there, So I like how it changed up a little bit. Cube 2 thought they could just go nuts, so they kind of disregard physics in that movie, and then they really just kind of they try to go big. They fail at the sequel thing we were talking about at Children of the Corn. Where some movies do it right, and then some movies are just like, we got more money, let's go nuts.
Yeah, well,
that
the
was
one
Hypercube
backed by Lionsgate.
Yeah.
So like that alone was just like,
the first one made a lot of first one made a lot of money, so why not back it? The problem was Cube never needed to be anything other than a one-shot movie, one and done, because now you have to try to explain the movie, which it fails at. It's never, the fact they don't explain this movie makes this movie even more intriguing.
That's the one thing I really liked about it was when Kazan walks into the light wherever he was going, and it ends. There's no explanation.
I'm so happy that we get a white ending.
Yeah, I liked that ending. I didn't need to know. I didn't need an explanation. Sometimes films over-explain things, and then it just comes out silly. So stop that. Just don't explain it. You're telling a story. So I did like that. There were a couple things I did like about this, but we'll get to our likes and dislikes later.
That shows confidence in your movie, in your decision making.
Yeah.
Because it could have easily shown what was on the other side of the cube. And it's up to your interpretation. To me, it's the normal world. It's nothing alien or foreign.
Is it heaven? Is it
right?
New York City?
I like the ambiguity to it, because if it had shown a forest, I'd be like, why are they in a forest? If it had shown a cityscape or an underground or anything like that, then my brain is like, okay, what else is going on there? The fact it's pure white light now is like, this could be alien, heaven, hell, anything, or he could literally walk into an open warehouse, just one of those scenes where it's like there's nothing in there but a long corridor and a door,
and Ed McMahon standing there with $1 million oversized check. You just won.
Who's that guy from American Idol?
Ryan Seacrest.
Ryan Seacrest is at the right there when the door opens.
Am I dating myself with an Ed McMahon reference?
No, I totally get that reference.
I mean, we got it, but we had to make sure we church it up for the younger ones.
That
church it up.
All right, well,
that's wonderful.
Old man Pete needs to take a quick nap, so I think it's time we take a quick commercial break. So we'll be right back.
Sciatica, your face.
Don't go away. It could be a grave mistake.
Just how drunk are we gonna get?
Welcome to Good Beer, Bad Movie Night, where each month we drink finely crafted brews while watching terrible films in order to see just how drunk you have to get to enjoy them. So tune in and join Troy.
Kilroy Kreitz.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
Dave.
I have the weirdest boner.
And Pete. IPAs are ales, meaning they are bottom fermented. Excuse me, they are top fermented. I that up. Try that again. As we drag Kathleen.
Hear me.
Kicking and screaming through an alcohol-fueled podcast dedicated to movies of questionable quality and the frosty adult beverages that help make them tolerable. Good Beer, Bad Movie Night. Clearly, it's the beer's fault.
There's never been a puzzle quite like Rubik's Cube, and America may never be the same. A medical journal has written about a unique phenomenon, Rubik's Thumb. A museum recognized it as a work of art. Rubik's Cube has been involved in divorce proceedings. People are practicing at clinics, entering contests, and competing across the country. Rubik's Cube from Ideal. 25 million Americans have made it a part of their lives. How about you?
Don't let the commercials bug you. We're back.
Oh, we should do more bug movies.
Yeah. Well, Nate wanted me to start, rebooting the show, so I started changing things up.
So I wanted
Yeah,
to
I like it. I like it a
Damn
lot.
it. I got a lot of demands still to be met.
I'm working on it. The
I
intro
forgot
song
what some
takes
of
a
them
little
were.
bit.
You're taking so damn long.
Oh,
That's the point.
oh.
If I wait long enough, Nate will just forget everything.
about it.
It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
I tucker myself out.
Who
He'll
needs a
be
nap
back-
now, baby Nate?
I want a blanket and I want my stuffed animal.
Oh.
Your stuffed fire puppet. What? Oh hell! What was
No,
his name?
I have
Torchy.
a Pokemon that I snuggle. His name's
Oh,
Grookey.
Pete, you were going for Torch, but I like where
Torch,
you were going there.
damn it.
Yeah.
I couldn't make the connections in the brain pan.
Yeah. This was one of the things I was like questioning Nate picking this movie, because I was like, this is a intellectual style type movie.
Oh,
Like,
I see how it is.
No, yeah.
Nate decided
We're a
to
bunch
pick
of
a smart
dumbasses.
movie for once.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we brought Troy in to smart this whole podcast up.
I fooled you all.
He's like, ha, 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 ha. Joke's on you guys.
I was a
Yeah.
dumbass the whole time.
Whoosh.
I have to say
Pulls off
though,
the mask, and there's a dumbass underneath it, Scooby Doo style. I got away with it.
I've got away with it too. It's been Dave the whole time. Damn it. Love you, Dave. I don't know. I think part of me though was when Nate did pick this, I was like, I could see Pete picking this movie. Like I actually thought
And that's,
that this
that was also it's just like, you know what? This makes a total Pete sense.
Nope.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was actually
Nope.
taken aback from his response in the group
Same.
chat.
I thought he was doing a bit. I thought he was fucking with us. You know what? Now we know we have the gun. It's easier to let it slip. All right.
I'm finding, like, for us at least, 90s movies, we don't have quite the nostalgia, and there was an attitude during that decade that doesn't jibe as well with Pete and I, where it's like all like, screw everybody, I'm looking out for
it's
number
such
one.
a
And
Gen X like attitude towards it all of like,
We are
this
Gen X.
world.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say,
know.
they're Gen X.
We're
I'm Gen
Gen
X.
Yeah,
I'm
you all
Gen
are.
X.
That's why, as the millennial, I'd be like, yeah, you guys are your moodiness and your 9-inch nails.
It's very grunge. It's very
Yeah.
grunge.
Yeah, I'm too
Yeah.
cool for this world. Wait
the
till I get out in
nihilism
the
and the
world.
hopelessness in this
Yeah.
are kind of the
Yeah.
things that, like, I was totally into that stuff. I loved it back in the day, but like, it doesn't play as well with me anymore. And maybe it's because
Well, it's because we all got happy.
yeah.
Kinda. Sure. Okay. We'll
I mean,
go with that.
The medicine is helping, sir.
Yay! I need more medicine, by the way. Hang on.
Pete's out. Pete's out.
That's a beer can.
Reload. Reload.
Reload.
Wait, I got that.
No, that's not reloading. That's shooting. That's the total opposite.
Oh, you're right.
I can get the liquor out.
I told you I wasn't the smart one.
I got the liquor. I have the liquor out. It's totally fine.
That's right.
I will say that this movie did feature one of the worst pickup lines of all time, where where Quentin tells Levin that he's going to take you down the perfect key. I'm going to slip you in the lock. I was like, oh god,
That was the slimiest, grossest thing coming out of that dude's mouth. in
The
this
whole
movie.
time, you're just like, please kill him.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah,
just let
especially
him
to that-
die.
to the little young girl,
Underage, but yet not like that underage. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. She's
and
she's the most innocent outside of Kazan.
True. Absolutely. And I think
Yes.
that's also the part of now he is this villain that's trapped with them.
We
I mean,
watch
he's
him beat the shit out of Worth, and it's like,
oh yeah.
this guy is unhinged. He's now a risk to all of you getting out of this alive. Like, you have to kill him. And like,
Yes.
they end up, outsmarting him, but it's just like, no, like, you got to do the double tap and make sure this guy is dead. Like, they try to, they do eventually lose him in one of the rooms. And it's almost like they weren't cocky about it, but I get it. They thought there's no way he'll get himself out of this,
Because there is no way he should have gotten out of that, period. That is my biggest beef with this movie, is that Quentin stumbles his way to across the bridge to get these cats to stab these two people, Worth and Levin, at the very end before they can escape.
He didn't even have any boots left.
He didn't have boots left. He didn't have the math skills. There was a bridge that had already moved that wasn't going to come around for another however many chess moves. Like the bridge wasn't always there.
It moved into the cube.
And they even said during the middle of the movie, it's like, oh, it's going to take us 25 minutes and the bridge will be there at this coordinate.
Yes.
And they found themselves there at that time, ditched Quentin, got through the bridge, and were about to get out to the white light. And somehow Quentin followed him, even though the bridge had already moved away.
Now here's
here's Charlie. I gave up on the movie entirely. I mean, I had already pretty much given up on it, but that just burned my britches.
They answer that earlier when they lose Kazan. Kazan gets left behind, everything shifts, and because Kazan is yelling out because he's terrified, they are able to figure out kind of what direction he is coming from. They hear him. So, and even Worth kind of just takes a leap of faith and goes into the one room, even though they didn't have boots or anything. And he's able to get Kazan out, and they make it through there. You have to remember, though, all of the cubes are moving. Quentin maybe didn't have to go anywhere till he heard them talking through that doorway. He could have easily just been pop right there. They're in the correct cube for the bridge, but there are still other cubes around them that as this whole structure shifted, Quentin never had to leave his room till he heard them talking, and he opens up the door.
And I think that's also
bullshit.
we have to hope that he would be smart enough to do that. And I don't know.
Quentin
if
is not smart enough.
I feel like that
smart
character would be full of himself to be like, that's it. I'm just going to go through this door.
Well, also here's the other thing. Not every room is booby trapped. It's not only just one possible way to get out. Right. There are fewer booby traps than safe rooms. So it easily could have been just sheer luck that he's like, you know what? If I'm stuck here, F it. I'm just going to jump through that cube. If I die, I die. If I don't die, I'm one step closer to them. And easily could have bypassed.
They were all bleeding. He could have been following. He's a cop. He could track them. Who knows?
Anything could have explained it. I know Pete doesn't buy it. And also there's a whole nother thing of people that have like low rated this movie because they hate the ending. They're like, why is Quentin the bad guy? I was like, this guy has to be it. Because otherwise you have to answer the cube. So they give us an ending with Quentin. Now that is satisfied and we don't need that answer for who's behind the cube. If we didn't have him as a villain, there still needs to be a villain for there to be some type of closure. So he's like a false closure to the ultimate puzzle, which is the, who's behind the cube. And then like we just talked about, we were like, I'm totally glad we didn't get an answer. It adds so much to it, but that's also because we got one of the most nihilistic endings to a movie ever that, she dies, Worth dies, Quentin gets trapped, or cut in half. He's trapped, but he gets cut, which is glorious. And I love the blood smear
down
the structure.
We don't see him get chopped in half. We just see the aftermath.
And it's, you know what, that was another one of those, like, I feel like it was a lot of it in the 90s was they would tease you with elevators. It happened in Speed when they're trying to pull that lady out and it just misses her foot. There's also another I forget what horror movie it is, but it keeps like inching down on the elevator and they just happen to get the person out before the elevator. You're expecting her to get cut in half. And it's like 2 or 3 movies. And this one finally, even though I didn't get to see his face, I got to see that blood smeared down the structure. And I adore it. And it's bad CG, but also $300,000 budget. Oh, no. And they cubed a guy and melted a guy earlier. I was totally fine with red paint on MS-DOS.
For 1997, like they were simple enough animations that they've still really worked. Like even the guy when he got cubed, that was definitely some CG in there, but like it worked. It really did.
I think most of the budget went there.
I think that's where I think you're right. That and because even the part when the quiet room with all the razor wire
blades
coming through, that animation's still really cool. Like they show where it comes out of the walls. Like they take the time to show it. But also back to the cubed guy, that blink, that just snap of a finger when that thing comes through him. And then after he falls, the camera focuses back out and you see the razor grid right there in front. I love that.
That was great. I love that so much. And I love that they were dedicated to showing the person falling into pieces.
Yes.
Not just movie like Resident Evil would turn the camera away. You know?
Did they? They didn't turn the camera away in Resident Evil.
Well, they didn't turn the camera away. You just see like the piece of his head start to slide, and then you don't get to see him fall apart. Or this
but they show the aftermath though, don't they?
Barely.
Like the camera
it's kind of off to the side.
Well, they have to go back through there, and I think his body pieces are still laying there. I like that guy. He's in.
You know what else about Resident Evil? Who was the woman that starred in Resident Evil? Well, she's been in a lot of other things, right? Like that Monster Hunter movie recently.
Was it Milo Jovovich? Is that who you're talking about?
That's her name. That's right. She's a lovely gal. You know what?
Fifth Element was a really good movie.
Oh, it was. Fifth Element was a wonderful. Hey, Bruce Willis was in that movie.
Hey,
you know what other movie Bruce Willis was in?
Is this what it feels like?
He was in.
Yeah.
This is what's like the podcast with me?
He was in Die Hard. I think that's an action movie. Oh, I think that was a lot of fun.
This is a horror podcast right now, sir.
Okay.
Yep. He tried and failed. He's not as skilled as we are.
You know, he doesn't got that 6 degrees of random bullshit like I got.
Or 6 Sense of random bullshit. That was a Bruce Willis movie.
Oh, there it is.
Oh!
And that was kind of horror. I mean, there was a ghosty thing going on.
It was a ghosty thing, for sure. Yeah. It's a mystery horror sort of thing, but not really horror. But
Troy just shamalama ding donged us right there, man.
Yeah, what
and
a
you know
plot
what?
twist.
Speaking of shamalama ding dong, have you seen Animal House? That movie is so much fun. Let me tell you. That song that
there's dongs in it.
No, they sing Shamalama Ding Dong in that tune, and it's a lot of fun. Do you mind if we dance with your dates? It's a great movie, man. Let me. Also, you know how in Animal House there was a couple of nice little booby shots.
Yes.
Well, maybe just one. Anyway, it was definitely a booby shot. So. If I could make a hard segue, because I'm not sure how to do this.
The hardest.
It's a real stiff way to go about this, dude.
Stiff. That's good, Nate. I was a little inebriated when I thought this up, and I thought, hey, all great movies have porn parodies, and I was thinking, this is not a great movie. I wonder what a porn parody of The Cube would be. So, Charlie, regale us.
So we got we got sent homework, and
I didn't really quite understand the assignment.
Right.
You're so innocent.
I made sure that I was explanation point softcore. Softcore Police,
okay.
Skinamax at
That's-
Max.
Oh, HBO
That's
After
what you
Dark.
meant. Okay.
Yeah,
I got to
so,
redo my notes.
Me too.
I had a couple of titles pop up, but I was like, you know what? I feel like we're all going to pick the same title. So I went with, because I really wanted someone to get tricked by it and to end up watching it. So I kept it with Cube, but you know how a lot of times it'll have another title underneath it. And I went, Cube, math is hard. So
that I can see that accidentally getting
that's
played
wonderful. I
at
like
elementary school.
And the other side, Zach, oh god,
The TV on the cart.
Yeah, the TV on the cart getting rolled in with the Laserdisc player. I got a math is hard.
You had Laserdisc in your high school, or
We had one Laserdisc.
Oh,
Uno Laserdisc. It was Braveheart. It was wild. But and then I guess the other part of the assignment was, and what would the plot be? And I went, they have plots?
No.
I haven't made it 30 seconds into one of these movies, so I don't have a plot other than some ooh ah, and now we're all sticky. So that's
Nate. What did you say about a 2-pump chub earlier?
exactly. Yeah,
That was
a
before
teenager.
That was before recording.
Oh, was it? Oops.
I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
So that's me. I'm just sticking with. I'm a title man. I come up with Cube. Math is hard.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good math. You get an A+. Good job,
Thank
Charlie.
you. Thank you.
Troy, what you got for us?
Well, it's obvious. I figured that we all of us. I've actually figured that the reason that you came up with Cube is because you like pube.
That's why I changed mine. I was like, "There's no way we all four didn't come up with Cube."
Okay, I like it.
I'm sure Nate did something like Pube squared. I don't know, Pube braided.
Pube zero.
Troy, what's your name, Troy?
What's your name?
And the plot is that people have sex.
I like it.
Oh,
Yeah,
I never would have thought that up. Wow, that's amazing.
I am a writer.
Your creativity knows no bounds, Troy. I think that's your name, Nate.
All right, so I didn't realize we were doing softcore. So what I was going to do was, first he's going to Dude, I was just trying to reference that, what was going to happen was
Holy
and then they
shit.
end it with what a lovely tea party.
I take back everything I said about you being innocent.
No
I have
kidding.
absolutely no idea what's going on.
I need to take lessons from you, Nate.
I need to wash my ears out.
Right.
There's a lot that goes on in this brain, sir.
All right, Headmaster Pete. I should have said that.
Okay, so I had two titles for my movie, and I thought one of you is going to pick one of these titles, and I'll just pick the other one. So,
okay.
But the first one I picked was Lube.
Lube.
That's the one that he giggled at.
That's brilliant. I never went that way.
Right.
Troy's over here just as kerfuffled as I am. How did we not think of lube?
Right. Well, this is the meeting of the minds. This is why when we get together, we're going to have a great movie when we write it. And the other one I thought was the most obvious one, Boob. So,
Jesus. Troy, we suck. Troy left.
Troy left the podcast. He's done.
All right,
Troy, you better make sure you're still recording.
Can we hear say something, Troy, just for giggles?
I'm just angry now. I had it.
It was right in front of us.
It's right there in front of me.
So
both of them were right there in front of me.
If only this was a visual medium. So
all I'm saying is that what would happen with her is
oh my God, Nate, stop it.
What?
Jesus Christ.
That is not physically possible. Come on.
Well, I don't know. Have you ever heard of this?
From the boys.
There's laws against that. It's just not going to happen. Put the
So-
dog away.
Right. Yeah. Put the dog away.
Well, if it's your peanut butter,
All right. So the plot. Okay. So for either boob or lube, the synopsis is you're trapped in the cube. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, instead of a trap, instead of a horrific trap that kills you, when you open up a door and you go in it and it's the trap, it's one of your worst dates ever. Or one of those, those things that happen on dates. Like something silly, like you fall out of bed, or you're making out in a car and the cop knocks on the window and you have to scramble to get your pants up in time for the cop to say what's going on in there. Or the 2-pump jump classic,
that was off.
You were
That was off record.
Well, we've all been there, right? Or what else? What else do we have? Come on, guys, help me out here.
I was going to say, this is not what I pictured
This is
when we
not
talk
at
about
all
a
the
movie.
plot. This sounds like the worst softcore to ever watch.
Well, no, that's
There's
the whole.
no
This is
time going
a
on.
horror movie. So you walk into you walk into a room, and all of a sudden your date is there, and her tooth falls out for no good reason, and you're like,
No,
"What's
this
that?"
is terrible. Like,
I know. These are all bad
nightmare.
dates. This is a horror movie, right?
I thought we were doing softcore.
Yeah, exactly. And the horror has to be changed up.
Well-
You got to come in and it's like, oh no, if we have sex for too long inside this cube, we could die. But I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah. And then
And then each room is like more tempting, and he's like, "Oh, I can't take it anymore." And then
I mean, if you're going to give a parody of Cube and yet call it lube, wouldn't all of the walls be covered in KY jelly?
Yeah.
And that makes it even harder to open the doors and
okay.
climb the ladders.
Our hero enters a room. He's like, damn, or something like that.
Not all plans are well thought out. That's all I'm going to say. I had 2 really good titles, though.
So,
You did have good titles.
I think we should have just stuck with the titles and we'd have totally been fine. And then we got what came out of Nate. So thanks,
Oh,
Pete.
God.
We don't
Way to
kink
go.
shame on this podcast. We established that back on the Full Eclipse episode.
No, we just Nate shame, and that's different. So it's totally fine. All right. We've talked about Cube. I think it's time for us to get into the things. What do you think, guys?
things.
Let's do the things. This isn't lube.
Ew.
It's so slippery now.
I try to maintain
Yeah.
a PG-13 show here, everybody. I'm sorry. I let them say bitch one too many times last time.
Oh, that got out
Hey,
of control.
No one has called each other a bitch this whole episode.
It's
Yeah.
true.
They're doing good. Doing good.
We've moved past that bit.
Oh, now we're on a new one. Now it's lube. The raining blood for Cube is 6. So
Makes sense.
6, yes.
yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty right out there.
Kazan
Kaz gets away.
lives, but you had an extra guy at the beginning that died that got cubed up.
Yep.
So definitely that. So that was simple. That's like Freddy Krueger kills. So
It
it's
was.
fine. We're
Now we
we're
got to
on-
figure out which one was our favorite one.
What do you think? Zombie kill of the week?
Troy, you regale us.
Oh, it's easy. It's the first one. That guy being diced into cubes is beautiful. It's a thing of art.
Yeah,
Being
he's not
cubed
wrong.
art.
Yeah.
Cubed art. Cubism.
It's cubism.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's going through his Picasso phase.
Well, Charlie, how about you next? We're gonna make
Oh,
Pete
me
go
next.
after you. Yeah. Mix it up.
I know we all like to cheer when we all pick the same one, and that doesn't mean that they're not good kills, but something about acid face that just it gets at you, man. You're yelling ew, it's bubbling, and
Takes a while.
It does take a while.
He was in pain. Yep.
It was, and also it's that classic, you were waiting for him to go clever girl because he's all of a sudden looks over and gets
No, that
sprayed.
happens in Pete's movie Lube.
Oh, that's right.
When she keeps stalking you from your old apartment. Yeah.
We're in a slippery situation. Look what you've done to us, Nate.
Me?
Yes,
yeah.
you.
Yeah, you. Yeah, you.
All right, my turn. Okay.
Yeah, it's your turn, Pete.
It's acid face because it's a practical effect. I think it's wonderful that how his face melts and gets all white and bubbly. It's like,
yeah, it's like
It's
Alka-Seltzer.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so gross they have to turn him over. That got a genuine chuckle for me.
That's like the cherry on top for sure.
Yeah, I do the same thing, guys. You're right. You're up, Nate.
For me, I'm going with Troy and the Cube, man, because the dedication to show it, that dedication.
And hear the little meat packets go plop plop.
And you get to see his fingers, those fall.
Oh yeah.
And just like his face and the blood running down his face first before he just disintegrates. Like it's such a great opener where you're like, what's going to happen next? Because if this is your opener, where else is this going to go?
I mean,
but
I think
it's
from
there.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Stop it, Pete. Stop it. All right, let's let Pete get this out of his system. Let's rate this bad boy.
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back.
Now, Pete did let us know about a certain rating on his own podcast that he would have gave this movie.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Which was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it was. So,
is it my turn?
Yeah, let's have Pete go
because I'm going. Damn it, I'm going right now. If this was on Good Beer Bad Movie Night, this is a 6-beer movie because I liked. There's so very little I like about this movie, and I would rather be passed out than to ever watch it again. However, we're not on my podcast. We're on the Give Me Back My whatever, wherever we are. Give Me Back My Horror Movie.
He's a host, Nate. He's a host.
I know. But I confused week to week. Which one are we on today? And I've been drinking. So, this is a movie. It's a 5.
Oh, okay.
It's a 5.
Than I thought.
So yeah, it's way higher than I thought he was going to get. That means
it's
average.
It's an average movie. I think it's dumber than it thinks it is smarter. I like the design of the cube. The acting isn't terrible. The ending is wonderful. The 2 early deaths are great. So there are some things to watch, and thank God it wasn't very long. Oh, had this been any longer, I would have just.
It's a tight hour and a half.
It's a tight film. It's tight
a
film.
quick movie,
and they don't waste any time.
No.
So for this podcast, it's a 5. I don't recommend it, but I won't tell you not to watch it.
Better than I thought we were going to get.
It was, yeah. I was really, expecting to, hide my shovel. That's where I thought it was going to go.
Totally fine.
There was only one thing that really pissed me off, and it was Quentin that found his way through the maze at the very end. Like that's the only thing that really just set me off.
I answered that though. It's totally possible.
You answered it, and I do not accept your answer. False.
Fine. He's a teleporter.
He's a nightcrawler?
He's a nightcrawler. He bamfed. He bamfed into the end.
Bamf. If he would have done that in the sound room, he would have so died.
Yeah, because it makes a noise. Bamf. Every time.
Every time.
Yeah. Smoke, everything, everywhere.
Charlie, why don't you go?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Oh, Nate's all kinds of road tonight. I thought Pete was going to be low, which was going to make mine sound high. I'm going to give it 6.5.
Oh, okay.
I'll
go 4.5 then.
That wasn't a challenge.
Wait.
Oh, okay.
That word.
I think it takes a certain type of person to find enjoyment in this movie. That's not a dig at Pete. I really think this is one of those that if you really like, it's a challenge movie. Like if I know someone particularly likes a certain style of movie, I'd be like, okay, you like to be challenged in what you think of at the end of a movie, watch Cube, because it is, like I said, continually causing people to have really good discussions about it. And I mean, what was that one that they just did? It was in an office building. The Belko Experiment is very much in the flavor of what Cube is, which is basically the human
you're
condition.
absolutely right. Like, that's a very mean-spirited movie.
Right. And it's totally to just pit people against people to see what they would do. I think Cube did what Saw was able to make successful, which was there's always an answer. It may not be a pleasant answer, but there's always a way to get out of the trap. You're never not able to get away. And that's the whole trick with that. Cube did that, but they made it so ambiguous that a lot of people, unless you watch it multiple times, never realize that the answer was in the room. They try to say it. They're like, we should have never left. We should never left
this room.
But just staying put wouldn't have solved it. They all had to add to
you had to have the journey to understand why you were moving forward. And I get that. And that's also why I don't say that. That's why I gave it a 5 instead of a 3. Because enjoyment wise, it was a 3, but I can see where people would enjoy this and give it a lot of thought.
And this, like I said, is one of the very few movies. Nate brought it up last time. There is one movie, and it's The Descent, where they're in the cave and she's trapped. I can't breathe during that entire segment. I can watch the whole movie. I have to skip that part. But this movie, it literally was multiple times of that impending dread, that weight on my chest, a pit in my stomach feeling. And I've seen this movie multiple times, and I was actually really happy I still felt something when I watched this, because I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised by my own reaction to it. But is it the best horror movie? No. Is it overly exciting? Not really. It's a mood kind of movie. It's a 6.5. It's not terrible. It's not great. I would recommend it to people. It's a thinker.
I'm appreciative of that. Now, Troy, where do you come in at with all this?
I'm surprised. I'm 7.5. I quite like this movie. And it's almost all the concept of it absolutely grabbed me from the very beginning. I freaking loved the concept of this film. And the bad plot discussions where they were trying to figure out what it's doing there. Actually, I totally dug on just like, all right, let's think about this for a while. I would love to know if the math actually works that they do on all this.
That's a great question. I was very curious about that as well.
I didn't check the work.
I'll get Mr. Basinger to come back and do all the math.
I have to imagine that they've probably based it on some type of truth.
If you want to be as smart as you think you want to be, you do the math. I bet it all works.
I know that totally off the subject, but it is on the subject. I know that they actually have mathematicians and professors just on the show Big Bang Theory, when they have equations written on boards, they're not BS. Now there's some of the theories they talk about on the show because
it's total
that's
science.
BS.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that is visually where you could pause it and look at it, from what I understand, they actually do get backed up legit type of equations.
Back when I was in community college, I used to just solve those equations on the board. And then,
oh yeah, did you get into fights with silver spooned other mathematicians? Who wore their sweaters over their shoulders,
and they could have got that education for $1.50 at the library. And anyway, Ben Affleck's my best friend.
Applesauce, bitch. I said bitch. Yeah.
I remember, right? That's a really good Step Brothers bitch.
Potty mouth Charlie tonight.
How about you, Nate? What'd you think of it, bitch?
Sorry.
Yeah, Troy's in on it.
I'm in between with Charlie and Troy, but I think I am in that 6.5 category. I still like this movie. I liked it more the last time I had watched it than this time.
Me too.
and that was interesting because it's like it's the same movie, but like I think like with Pete said, it's like your perspective changes as you get older. When I first saw this, I was a much moodier person than what I am now. I try to be happier. I know, right? It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like lots of angst.
Little moody Nate.
Little angry, upset Nate at everything. Just wanted to watch the world burn. Now he just wants to see it like simmer.
It's just a nice slow simmer. I think we're there. We're almost to a low boil.
We are almost getting to that. Like, I'm trying, guys. I promise. But I think for me, it's kind of like everything we talked about. I do feel like the cube itself is what Elon Musk would build for the Twitter headquarters. Like, come on, that just feels right. Okay,
you can have a day off if you can get out.
Exactly. You know? That feels like such an Elon Musk thing to do. You wish that Quentin would bite it sooner, and that is a pretty strong complaint because, like, I definitely forgot that Levin gets stabbed in the back, like, and lifted up. That is a brutal death.
It's a brutal kill.
It's one of those things when it happens to, it's like, she didn't deserve that. Like, for some reason in my head, I'm like, she gets out of this too. Like, you know, it's like, nope, no, she gets stabbed in the back and lifted up, and that's really unfortunate, you know. And then like some of the pacing of this movie is a little bit on the slower end, where like, yes, it's only an hour and a half, but it does feel longer. But you're also, because as an audience member, you feel trapped in this movie with the like you're, you know, the actors are like, I don't know how to describe that. I'm failing.
Well, you're experiencing it through them. It's like one of the reviews I read, they were mad at the math. They're like, I don't want to do math, and I'm like, you're not. They
characters are. Yeah,
you're just
you would have died
for the ride. They're doing it, so the math is inconsequential to the viewer.
People were mad because they thought they had to do math.
Yeah, they were like, the math was
involved.
Math was involved, and then it got more complicated, and people couldn't follow along. It's one of the reviews on IMDb I was reading, and I was like, it had the math is a key to them getting out, not us experiencing what they're experiencing. Yeah, you know. And as much as I can talk about the answer was right there at the beginning, it's that classic, you know, what would have happened at the beginning of George Lucas if, you know, they changed something and all of a sudden the credits run, you know, that would have been this. There was no movie if they solved it immediately. You know,
if they would have flown to Mount Doom and just dropped the ring, it would have been way easier if they would just listen.
Take the Eagles out there instead of on the way back. For heaven,
why, you fools?
Why, you fools?
Right.
Or if like everyone would have, you know, worked together in Predators, which essentially has the same exact plot line as Cube.
There you go.
You know.
Yeah. And you know, and ultimately it was one of them that was more dangerous than the Predators.
That's an asinine argument against this movie, is that there's math involved.
It is.
Whomever said that is a dumber person. I'm a dumber person for listening to whomever's opinion that was.
I'm sorry.
They were feeling inadequate because they realized that there was no way they were going to get out of those cubes.
I know what a prime number is. I don't know what the equation is to figure out a prime number, but okay. If
I don't think
tell
I could
me what
use
it
a
is.
button to, you know, even sketch into sheet metal or whatever it was they were
that
doing.
was also very weird. Like your little plastic button can scratch in an equation on a piece of steel or polished silver, or I don't know what the hell it was. I
wish they would just all had a Sharpie in their pockets.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, everyone could have had a Sharpie,
but they weren't given any tools.
I'll tell you what. I found the review.
Oh, are you going to do trash opinions?
I am going to do trash opinions.
This is that okay, twist? Nate? Yeah, okay. I'll allow it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage. And then I pick up the trash can and I smash the guy on the head.
Oh, that's going to be a disaster.
Now, this is the part where you rewind the podcast and just replay all of Pete's parts, right?
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
You're
That's
not supposed
hilarious.
to say that part out loud.
I'm sorry. He's
You're
right
editing.
there.
You can do
He
whatever
was
the hell
getting
you
a
want
beer.
to.
I thought we could get away with it.
Yeah, I know. I
I
can
still
do
got
anything
my
I want.
headphones on, you dick. Is dick as bad as slap? Oh my god! I did that one on purpose.
So I read this review and I'm looking like the IMDb has like an actual star rating. I'm surprised at the height of his star rating. But this is by Gridoon. There's a name.
That sounds pretty cool.
This person's name is Gridoon.
Gridoon. Gridoon. This was in January 18th, 2000. So 3 years after this movie came out. So
Okay.
kind of close. Unique, but ultimately unsatisfying. Cube is certainly a unique movie. The brilliant, absolutely irresistible premise grabs you instantly, and the production design keeps you impressed. The first hour of this picture was thoroughly engrossing and full of surprises. I would even call it astonishing if the actors didn't deliver some obviously forced, unnatural, profound speeches, and if the director didn't try to create dramatic moments by taking the easy way out, having the characters argue with each other all the time. If they acted as a team and tried to overlook their differences, that would have been the real original approach. Still, the movie was fast-paced and fully engrossing. Aside, I will say that had they done that, they would have gotten out of the maze way too fast.
They would have, and you
Now
would have had
here's-
a movie.
Now here's the part that I remembered from the talk. And then about 20 minutes before the end, it begins to collapse. The mathematical calculations become impossible to decipher and follow. A major character changes his behavior completely, and the ending is a real disappointment. Some people have said it's surprising. I think it's a total cop-out. It doesn't provide any explanations, and it doesn't provide any clues for us to try and figure it out on our own. I watched the last 5 minutes 3 times. They leave you with an intense, that's it feeling. Overall, this movie is definitely worth seeing, and the acting isn't nearly as bad as most people say, but be prepared for a highly unsatisfying ending. Now, they made good points in here.
Yep.
I will say.
They do.
I will agree with a lot of them.
What grabbed me was they were actually trying to follow along in the math, and I think that was the whole point of Kazan being there. I mean, ultimately, no average mathematician could do those equations in their head.
In their
so
mind,
it would have
right.
it would have taken someone
It would have
like
taken-
Kazan to do these. What do you call the there's an actual word for savant, right? Is that
Yes.
Well done.
Yes. That
That's
was the word that
Yes.
I couldn't think of. Go start from there.
Yeah. I was
I
going
thought
Rain
it was
Man.
Dustin Hoffman.
Yes. It's
That's
a Dustin
what I
Hoffman.
You're not wrong, but I wanted the real word. I don't know. I like the ending because otherwise this is one of those people that wanted it to be explained to him at the end of the movie or enough clues to go, oh, that's what it was all along. So that's why they're mad that Quentin has that shift. He's a freaking human being, an alpha male who is trapped with people that he feels, not superior to him, beneath him. And he snaps. It's a high stress. It's created to do that. Obviously, if he hadn't done that, it would have been even more of a character deviation. If someone hadn't had actually lost it, you're almost waiting on Worth to do it. But that's his ultimate Achilles heel is he is so nihilistic. He doesn't even want to leave the room when the opening is right there in front of him. And he lays down. He's like, I'm done. What's the point? There's nothing out there for me.
Yeah, but when Worth falls down and just kind of gives up, like you were saying, he reaches out to take Levin's hand. There's nothing for him on the outside. And it feels like he made some sort of a connection with Levin. And he's going to die there because at least he's not dying alone.
But that would mean she'd have to stay in there with him because
she did.
Well,
she
no,
was,
she got
He's talking
stabbed.
about after she's been stabbed. Yeah.
After
she got stabbed and is dead. Yeah. And then
then Worth grabs hold of
he holds Quentin
leg.
Yeah.
He gets chopped in half.
And then he holds. Yeah, okay. I thought you were talking like he kind of tries to, because he lays down because he's been stabbed, but he
Right.
doesn't want to leave the room when the white light and the door open up before
Yeah, even
Quentin
that being
comes
said,
in.
like he could have.
They
mustered
all
the strength.
three could have walked out of that door. There was plenty of time.
There was
And-
plenty of time.
And
he
that's
was
what causes Levin to pause, was because she's like, let's go.
So
Why
Worth
would
was
you
a
want to
little
stay?
bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Quentin's able to stab her. So even Worth is even kind of responsible for her death ultimately at the end, as well as Quentin, because he stops. He now caused her to pause. It's nihilism. Troy nailed
Yes,
this. This
yeah.
movie is nihilism, period.
As much as I hate arguing in movies and television, you wouldn't have movies and television without that discourse, without
Sure.
that violent conflict between characters, whether they're reality people or they're the folks in The Walking Dead. You're not going to have a show. You're not going to have viewers if you don't do this. But it bugs the hell out of me. I can't take it when you have this people on people being assholes to each other. It's something that I have a hard time with.
Says the asshole. It's kind of weird.
I'm kind of an asshole. I get it.
Who works
But-
with nothing but assholes, apparently.
Even Ash Williams wasn't in a group of assholes. They were trying to survive the cabin.
Yeah, he was
And
the asshole though.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
He wasn't.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
No, Ash Williams was the asshole in those.
You're wrong.
I am not wrong, sir. I am not wrong.
We'll talk about them.
Well, I'm
later. We
glad
have
that,
talked
you
about them
know, I picked this movie because it's definitely unconventional for us to cover, but
Totally.
some really, really good points have been made this evening.
I think some
And
excellent
I think
conversation
we're all
has
better
been made.
for it.
Stinks. It stinks.
Troy's over here going, better? I got drug into this. What the hell happened? I wasn't even in the group thread till Pete tagged me. Damn it. What is going on?
Thanks, Pete.
Sorry.
I
I'm
didn't
not
even
sorry.
know I was supposed to record tonight.
I jumped on this one. Like I said, I have good memories of this movie. It's a little bit more dark than I remembered it being.
Right. The
You
90s
asked
were
to be
dark.
on this one a long time ago, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched movies like The Crow. You know, we watched really dark and brooding movies
Dark
in the 90s.
City.
Dark
The
City.
Matrix.
Dark City. A Scanner Darkly. There's a lot of like really dark,
I think
almost
Scanner
noir
Darkly was like
kinda.
2006.
Was it
Not to be
that
that
late?
guy. Yeah.
Prince
I
of
think so.
Darkness.
Ooh, Prince of Darkness is a good
Ooh.
dark one. Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. Hackers.
Hellblazer.
You know,
Or
Hackers.
Hellraiser, rather.
that's it. Yeah, this would come out after Hackers, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, movies like Hackers, you know, let's burn the world down, anarchy, all that kinds of stuff. Is Steven behind me right now? What's
Oh no. Is he?
We're not
Don't let them back in.
No, but Leo's behind Pete right now.
Do you feel? I feel Leo's breath in the back of my neck, and it's glorious.
Pete's been transported back to lube. Anyway, all right, thanks
Or
everybody.
boob.
Or boob. Still kicking myself over that. Troy and I will never live this down. That we're sitting here thinking everyone's picking pube.
I went to
thought-
Pube.
I went pube.
I thought. I thought the same thing about boob and lube. I thought for sure.
And then I felt even worse that Nate just kind of casually threw out, yeah, pube 0. I'm like, son of a bitch, it's even better. Like, how did you, man? We suck, Troy. Damn it, we
Yeah.
suck.
Oh, I hit the easy, what I thought was the easy solution, and I quit. I
Yeah.
need to dig, man.
I never did. I never liked homework anyway. Damn it. Well, if you want to continue along, follow us in a lot of this insanity that we are involved
Please
with,
do,
you can
yeah.
always come over to the Facebook group, Give Me Back My Horror Movies. We also have Give Me Back My Action Movies, the Facebook group. Both of us are on Instagram under those same titles. We are on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And hopefully, if you go back, we just recorded and released our newest series on YouTube, The
Yep.
Tubi Files, Trash or Treasure, where we cover Nate's very special introductory
I
into it with
was so
Cyborg
excited.
We don't even know how we thought because we recorded these ahead of time. So go back and check it out and find out what we said, because even we don't know.
We don't know yet. Is it trash or treasured?
That's the whole point of the series. We
It's the
just
whole
find
point
something
of
on
the
Tubi.
Tubi files.
It's on Tubi. We're shooting for non popular kind of things. We want to get some, obscure. Maybe we'll hit something that maybe someone else has seen. That's never not impossible. But mostly it's going to be cold watches. But the beauty is Tubi's free, and if you want to follow along, you just download Tubi and go. And we're not sponsored by Tubi yet. We're working on it yet. So we'll get there eventually. Nate, what else do we got? We got anything else we need to announce?
Nah, I got it. That's it. Yep.
Nate's like, I'm done. I'm not. You're the one that brought this movie on. Look at him. He's so defeated. Look at Nate. He's so defeated.
I'm tired.
Wow.
I'm sleepy.
Nate needs a nappy. All right, guys. Well, please, if you have, please go check out Pete and Troy over at Good Beer Bad Movie Night. They have a fantastic podcast over there. I was a little worried when they covered Beastmaster, but I was happily surprised.
We done you proper.
You
right?
done me proud. Troy, I think we need to talk about your parenting a little bit, but that's okay. She's young. She's got time.
I thought it was a great introduction into podcasting.
As far as podcasting, I think she did great. It was her rating of Beastmaster that I am not happy with.
We have to expand her horizons a little bit more.
We're talking a generation we have no idea how to react to.
I have one in my house too, man. It's fine.
She hasn't seen bad movies yet, and we have such wonderful sights.
I started Anthony fairly early, so I've got at least that going for me. Plus, I just show him bloody movies. I'm in. RoboCop. Go for it, son. Have fun. Blood everywhere. All right. So again, thank you guys for checking us out, and we will be back next week with our 100th episode. We are covering Demolition Man.
Demolition Man.
Totally looking forward to that. So please, if you're going to check out an episode, I'm going to have to say it needs to be the 100th, and then go download all the other 100 and help our numbers out a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Nate,
go do that.
Nate, you want to get us out of here with the good word, buddy?
There is no good quotes in the movie Cube.
Agreed.
How the fuck are you going to know how long an hour is?
Hit the gun. or we get one.
I don't know.
We get one per PG-13, right?
No, I never said that's what. That's not
Troy. I think Troy got the good word in. You do the thing and then play the music.
Oh, Troy gets the good word out.
That was perfect.
That was the quote.
I'll let it go. Yeah.
Let's talk about how I get back home.
All right, guys. I got my PG-13 softcore title for real.
Okay.
For realsies here. Okay.
All right. It's Box. Get it?
Oh, God.
Now I think I'm an asshole. Why didn't I think of that? I had two good ones. Damn it.
And drop your mic.
Troy, I think we failed. Troy and I ultimately failed this whole assignment.
I did it.
I will give you
I don't even know what's real anymore.
I give you the title of porn parody title maker of all time.
Hey, as a wannabe amateur filmmaker, thank you.
Or performer.